with Nick Sands, and away we go. Well, Nick, could you put your hat up a little bit just when you were
Yeah.
yeah.
Hello, Miles.
Yeah. Okay, you were having a throat problem there. Are you okay?
Yeah. I could taste blood for a bit, and there's a sharp stinging sensation, pain rather.
Yeah. Now, is it okay now? Has it improved? You've had a sandwich?
I've had a bite to eat, and I've had some water. It seems to be a bit better at the moment. Yeah, thank you.
Well, we'll call this the last part.
I was trying to, what I'd learned from some documentaries earlier, I was trying to initiate peaceful telepathic contact with UFOs or moving objects in the sky, or even just a star intensity light that might be erratically moving in the night sky.
Yeah.
But I've managed to do that on quite a number of occasions over the years.
We've been able to do that ourselves here.
Wow.
So I'm familiar with that, but I want to concentrate on what you have to say. Could you push your hat up a little bit, please?
Yeah, so I would try and initiate a telepathic contact for a two-way communication. And as soon as they realised I was a contactee, the military jumped on it and wanted everything their way, basically. So while I was trying to initiate a peaceful long-distance telepathic contact, they decided they could exploit that, and they would exploit that, and they damn well did exploit that.
What exactly was involved there? Were they looking for... What did they get you to do? Who do they want you to contact?
Yeah, they wanted they were obsessed with shooting UFOs down. I witnessed one crash into the farmer's field. I believe we've discussed that earlier.
Yeah.
But, and after that, the Reptilian Occupation Force was obsessed with trying to acquire a specific type of Pleiadian space technology, a specific type of UFO technology, a specific model of a UFO.
And they used you to do that?
Yeah, they tried. They got a UFO, but it wasn't the type of UFO that the reptilians were trying to acquire. But they did get a less advanced UFO, yeah.
Now, you just mentioned the Reptilian Occupation Force. Explain all that, please.
Yeah, I believe some of them originate from the Draconi star system. They're very tough, very strong, they're very intelligent. They prefer to try and remain in an invisible spectrum to the human eye, the optical light frequency that humans can see. Occasionally you can see a flashing diagonal belt on them and stuff. They started getting annoyed with me going on my little river walks to the River Lynn, because it was my way of getting away from the torture and the programming to therapy to deal with what was going on there. So they'd get angry with me on the way. They would come down from the hedge or the sky and try and stop me going off to my little beauty spot that I found out there. Lovely bit of beautiful countryside and river and scenery and stuff. So. But yeah, the Reptilian Occupation Force are very vigorously trying to acquire Pleiadian time travel technology. The Pleiadians call it null time, and you can find some basic information relating to that in the Pleiadian documentaries. I believe there's one titled The Pleiadian Connection by J. Randolph Winters, and there's also a part 2, which is very revealing indeed. So.
Now, how can you compare what's on the documentary
Mm-hmm.
with what you know and understand yourself?
Yeah, some of the information has corroborated, some of it has, been proved, been linked through to my own experiences, my own sightings, multiple sightings in different parts of the country, a genuine crop circle I photographed through a telepathic experiment at Sunderland.
Okay, well, let's talk about the crop circle thing. We're in crop circle country, so maybe
Yeah.
we could have a look at that now.
Yeah. When I managed to escape the base, I was only there about a year. I was walking my dog in a southwest suburb of Sunderland, and I was at the top of the Grindon Hill in the darkness walking my dog,
Yeah.
and I saw a little star intensity light moving about in the black sky, in the night sky. So I thought, well, I'll try my little telepathic experiment to try and initiate a contact or whatever, because I'd been successful with making contact on numerous occasions.
Yeah.
So I didn't speak out, I didn't shout out or anything. I just directed a few telepathic thoughts to the star intensity moving light in the sky. And my telepathic request was, will you make us a circle? Will you make us a crop circle? And then I stopped my telepathic contact, carried on walking my dog in the dark, come back round past the Army Cadets or RAF Cadets building at the back of Grindon Hill. Went off to my flat with my dog, went to bed, good night. So about a week later, I was walking my dog in broad daylight. Just south of Grindon Hill.
Yeah.
You can walk along the tram lines of the crops, and I stumbled upon this, which appeared to be a genuine crop circle. And there is some evidence to support that it's possibly a genuine one. Yeah, I've only ever seen 3 genuine ones in like my life, in like 25.
Now, what would you
years
call
ago.
a genuine crop circle?
Yeah, well, we've got the stalks spiralled round. We've got the stalks twisting and spiralling and circling round a bit. So
Yeah.
if they're doing that, you obviously can't perform such a feat with the plank of wood. So I don't think this one was Doug and Dave either.
But the point is, it's the design, and you thought about it.
Yeah. And not only was the genuine crop circle there, there also was some missing soil. And there's actually 2 holes there where the soil has gone.
No, that's we'll just go up to that. Right. Okay.
And in a later telepathic contact with my Palladian friends, they said, it wasn't just you initiating contact with us. We also had some monitoring to do there. And this all ties in and connects with my studies at university in some modules of pollution and soil and biodiversity and tree planting, etc. But they say that the soil is gone. And what they told me in a Palladian telepathic communication later on was that they took soil samples because they were worried about the HARP installation in Alaska, operated by the Americans. They said they were worried about the HARP installation in Alaska and relay satellites and their potential for irradiating our soil horizons. Because if that happens, they could destroy or damage the microorganisms in the soil. The second crash I witnessed was in Northumberland, in the northeast in bad weather. And then after all that happened, I was able to go into the Darlington Rehab Centre at Victoria House, and they were actually acknowledging some of the information, not just covering it up or hushing it up or trying to say it doesn't exist, that's wrong, this is wrong.
That's a big change.
Yeah, a very big change.
What happened with that crash in Northumbria? Can you describe the events?
It was very bad weather.
Can you describe locations and dates if possible?
No, unfortunately, they did a very good job of brainwashing that one out. But all I can remember is there were 3 army personnel that went with us. We had to stop at the morning near a Vickers tank factory at Newcastle, and then we would go to the job site. which was just planting trees and hedgerows and stuff, which what I usually do. And there was a big guy called Dave. He served in the Falkland Islands. He had the official army jacket to prove it. There was a one called Gary. He had official army trousers on, the green ones. And then there was Morris, who was in complete normal civilian clothing. And it was bad weather on the way to a job site. I looked out the window, and there was a metallic silver disc just came crashing down. And Morris went, "Yes!" Like that. "Yes, we've got one. Yes, it's crashed." And I just got upset and shook my head. I couldn't believe what I'd just seen. I did believe what I'd just seen, though.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about Morris's emotion all along. Now, for me to make friends with space people, witnessing that was like witnessing a family car crash to me. It was that upsetting. And that gave me PTSD for a while.
What were they using? What do you know that they used to shoot down the UFOs?
Yeah, ground-based laser cannons were used, but it was disguised as an everyday object to prevent it from being detected. They telepathically contacted me at one point.
In the army?
No, the Palladian space friend.
Yeah.
They were trying to figure out what was shooting some of them down from high up. They wanted to neutralise the weapons to keep the peace, that's all.
And how long ago is this?
1999.
Okay.
Class of 98, after I graduated. 98 to 99.
And when was the Northumbrian shoot down?
Yeah, that's a bit more difficult to recall. That they brainwashed that one out pretty darn well.
But what were you doing up to that and after it?
Right, hang on. I was at Sunderland, trying to do my conservation work. And my ex-girlfriend would come along for that as well. And yeah, it always happens in the dead of night in the darkness.
Yeah.
So there's no prying eyes. But I will say that I witnessed a red curtainside articulated lorry going past my window, my kitchen window at Sandyside, from east to west, and you could actually see the bulge of the UFO through the red curtainside. They were that desperate to get it out of the zone and back on the base, because this was in broad daylight. That's all I saw of that, but that's how desperate they were to get this UFO out the public scene back to the base. You could see the shape of it through the red curtain side of the articulated lorry.
And in terms of the grade of craft that you mentioned, it wasn't. What sort of craft types are there that you would know of?
Yeah, the one that crashed into the farmer's field in the soil, which was right about there in Sandyside. We were told it was a two-man, two-grey crew. I don't know whether they survived.
Could you just point that out again? Yeah.
Yeah. That's Sandyside, where I lived for a year.
Right.
The farmhouse is there, and the two-man grade UFO craft crashed just into the farmer's field there. And the base at Longtown is just 2 miles to the north. There's Longtown there.
Right.
And this is the beautiful River Line, or
and
River
now you're
Lynn.
using a map. Could you just read out what map you're using, just for the record?
Yeah, this is
the centre section of.
Yeah. This map is the official Ordnance Survey map. It's the Explorer 315 series, and that covers Carlisle, where I was born. It's got Longtown, the official base, and a few other areas.
Okay.
So.
And where was the second crash?
Yeah, the second crash was in Northumbria.
Yeah.
In the bad weather.
Which is way over on the northeast.
Yeah.
Of England.
Yeah, I lived in the northeast for a total of about 7 years.
But not necessarily really that far from the Lake District. It's only over the mountains. It's 100
yeah,
miles.
A69. It's about 60 miles. Yeah, and another 20 to get to another 12, 15 miles to Sunderland. So it's not too far. Yeah.
Is there anything else you can remember about what happened that year?
They were just obsessed to take a war out into space and get more UFOs. It's a great shame that they're misunderstanding most of it.
Okay, what do they understand and what do they misunderstand?
Most of the ETs, most of the visitors are monitorers, peacekeepers, friends, guides, but the reptilian occupation force are just obsessed with trying to obtain Pleiadian time travel technology. They are, in some respects, they're almost fearful of the future because of that ability. They would constantly ask me on the base, tell us the future, get us null time, what's going to happen? And they were almost scared of the future. That's what had come over.
Who was physically saying that to you?
I believe it was the reptilians, because they're aware the Pleiadians have got genuine time travel technology.
Now, what size of this is this occupation force? What does it involve? Do you know anything about that?
Could you repeat that?
How big is this occupation force, reptilian?
Yeah, well, there are bases all over the world. They just want to govern the world, I guess. They want the world to go in the direction they want it to go in. They see us as food sometimes. They see us as workers or workmen, or but yeah, they seem to be fearful of the future, which I don't think they should be, but that's what come across.
Okay, well, we're going to wind this up now. What is the one thing you really want to get across? You've come a long way. What's your main message that you want to get across?
Most of the ETs and the visitors care about us. They monitor us. They watch over us. Sometimes they guide us. There's only like 2 or 3 badly intended races that are wanting to cause us trouble or attempt a slow takeover on Earth. But the Guardians and the Pleiadian monitorers have got this information to us in order to try and keep the peace, in order to try and educate us and guide us.
So is this what you're doing now to try and keep the peace? Are you sort of representing them in some way?
I suppose, but there are a lot of contactees. There are a lot more contactees than the authorities want you to ever know. A lot more.
In what sort of numbers?
I have no idea. It's just some of the people that I befriended over the years were having contacts. So they seem to get targeted, which is a great shame. But yeah. But my main focus now after rehab is trying to go back to work. And I've already started back at my conservation volunteering. I was doing some last week in Carlisle.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to get out there over the next few weeks at one of the new reserves. So hopefully things are finally looking good. The weather's been nice. Despite their obsession for exploitation of it, I can't let that govern my actions. I can't let that take over my behaviour or my life. My focus for the future now has got to be biodiversity. Definitely. I had a conclusion at the end of my 13-page article where they guided me as to what I should try and do despite this obsession or exploitation.
Now, where's this article? Do you have it with you?
Yeah, I believe I've given it to several researchers over the years. I've had to upgrade it and update it a little bit, but the basic thread of information stays the same. Yeah, I think I got a copy there to you, Miles. It was a COINTELPRO document. So we're being deceived and misunderstood. The good ETs we misunderstand. It's a big deception and a big misunderstanding. It's the same message coming through from George Adamski and Daniel Fry. I wish they would just stop the cover-up acknowledge the truth, realise they just want to be our friends, and, it's ridiculous, I think.
Well, hopefully what we've done today and yesterday will somehow contribute to it.
I hope it does, Miles. It ought to. I hope it does.
Well, we'll get scanning these pictures in and things, and we'll take it from there. Well, thank you, Nick Sands, for being on the Basis Project.
Thank you for interviewing me, Miles.
Good. Thank you. Good.
Thank you,
Good.
Miles.
Good.